Thank you, President Gerard, and good afternoon, delegates. It's an absolute pleasure to address you on behalf of the Australian Workers' Union. But apologies from my National Secretary, Daniel Walton, who wasn't able to be here this week. But again, firstly, I actually hope you can understand me, because when one of my colleagues was here addressing your conference a few years ago, people told him that they couldn't understand him. So I very much hope you can understand me. Our union has enjoyed a close relationship with the USW over the years and with other international unions who have supported us in many a campaign involving many industries in Australia that we cover. These global alliances ensure our union and our members have the best possible representation. There is definitely power in unity, as your conference slogan states. The Australian Workers' Union this year is 126 years old, and at the moment in the Australian workforce, there are actually more women than males in the workforce. And in my state of Queensland, we have over 34% of our union as women, which is quite a significant achievement for a historically male-dominated union. We have just held our biennial conference in Australia, and our theme was bigger, bolder and better. And we were fortunate that Ben Davis was able to attend our conference and address us. The diversity of our union is no different to yours, it's extremely broad. We cover industries such as steel, aluminium, mining, glass, manufacturing, and local government, to name a few. We also cover hairdressers. At the moment, we have a national campaign to organise hairdressers. And I have to say to our campaign team, if you're going to choose an industry that is extremely hard to organise, hairdressing is the one you will choose. But they are making amazing advances in that industry. But the challenges we face are no different to yours and many other unions. In Australia, union density has dropped to around 17%. And for the past 10 years, we have been focusing on growth initiatives nationally. The biggest challenge we have faced in the last 5 years has been in our steel industry. This is mainly due to the dumping of product from overseas. And as Tony Burke stated yesterday, dumping is when a company exports product to another company at a price cheaper than it costs them to produce it. BlueScope and Arium are companies two of our main steel producing companies where we have significant membership in Australia. BlueScope made up to 2,000 layoffs in the last 5 years. Their primary steel producing plant faced closure in 2015. This would have affected 2,000 direct employees and 5,000 indirect employees just in one town alone. And these are very significant numbers for the Australian steel industry. Their Port Kembla branch of BlueScope in the 60s was one of the first major employers to employ women in their factory floor that was traditionally male-dominated factory floor workplace. So if we're going to give BlueScope any credit, it's that they have actually been instrumental in the years of putting women on their shop floor. And recently again, starting this year, they are promoting women in their factories again, and they are making a difference. In one of my sites in Brisbane alone, this year, the woman participation on the floor has increased to 10%. The AWU, through a targeted campaign amongst our members and through government, actually saved the Port Kembla site from demise. 500 jobs were lost through voluntary redundancy, not forced as the company wanted, and a new 3-year agreement, or contract as you know them, was put in place and voted up by a majority of workers. Other cutbacks on site were necessary, however, but we were able to work with government and individuals that we supported to win their seats who helped us negotiate energy contracts and other savings to ensure the site's ongoing viability. These relationships are invaluable when needed. Arium is another major steel manufacturer and producer which has 94 companies in its business, notably One Steel and ARC. These companies entered into voluntary administration in April last year. They have more debt than assets. Sounds very dire, doesn't it? Its major steel producing plant is in a town called Whyalla, which was scheduled to shut on the 30th of June last year. And we found out after the company was placed in administration that this was actually on the cards to happen, something Ariam failed to tell us earlier. But with the intervention of the AWU and government, it has been able to continue producing product, and with the new 4-year agreement in place and government funding to ensure it can transition into other products to ensure its viability going forward. Another example of the importance of supporting labour-orientated allies into positions of government. This saved about 2,000 direct jobs and an unknown amount of indirect jobs in that town. The town only survives because of the plant. If our members lost their jobs, they would have to move away but be unable to sell their houses, because who would want to buy a house in a town with no infrastructure? The collective agreements that covers One Steel and ARC expired in late 2016 and early 2017. So we find ourselves bargaining while the business is in administration and being sold to raise capital to pay down debt. Believe me, that's not much fun at all. The administrator is proposing a 3-year wage freeze, discontinuation of bonuses, and reduced retirement payments. OI Glass is another company we have negotiated with in the last 2 years, an American company that I'm sure you've heard of. Just to give you an idea of the downturn in OI's business, they produce glass bottles and jars and wine bottles. In their South Australian plant in Australia, obviously, there is a very big wine producing community down there where they've always bottled their wine and sent it overseas. But in the last so many years, they're actually now exporting the wine in bladders overseas and having the product bottled overseas. Who would have thought of that? So what OI Glass were proposing in this last round of bargaining was reductions in retirement payments, wage freezes, a 2-tiered wage system, and too many other cutbacks to mention. After a campaign that lasted 17 months and industrial action being taken by our members, we maintained all of our members' conditions and only had to make one concession involving labour hire companies. However, to OI's credit, they are now also promoting women in their workplaces, and they're doing a genuine job to get more women on the factory floor. In all the above industries and campaigns, our union has actually grown in density. However, we know that these agreements will expire and the fight will be on again to protect our members' hard-fought conditions. We also have a Liberal federal government in power at the moment, which of course works against our members' best interests. In the last 5 years, our union has focused on domestic violence rights for our members and mental health support for our members going forward. The two usually go hand in hand. This is a cause that I myself am extremely passionate about. The union, through our National Women's Committee, hold White Ribbon Day events in every state throughout workplaces in Australia on White Ribbon Day, the 25th of November. Domestic violence in Australia is really getting a lot of support from all the unions and media in particular, so it is really getting a lot of support, which then opens up resources and help for a lot of people. In the last 3 years, where we have held major workplace events at some of our workplaces, of 3 of those events only, in one state alone, 2 employers launched their domestic violence policies at our workplace event on White Ribbon Day, and the other company has actually inserted a domestic violence clause in their agreement to give support and help to people needing assistance. Each provision provides paid time off for the victim above and beyond their allocated yearly paid leave hours. And another focus of our union is to get domestic violence clauses in as many agreements as we can, and we are slowly chipping away at that, and it is slowly becoming more successful for us. I strongly believe that unions have community and social obligations above and beyond their industrial work. This year we resolved in my branch that all union employees can access paid time off to donate time to assist a charity of their choice, which I think is a fabulous initiative. Delegates, our industrial systems may be different, but our struggles are the same. It's been a pleasure addressing you today at conference, and keep up the good fight. Thank you.